Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching this. So we did this last year. We're doing it again this year. This is where Chris McCain and I kind of break down, semi-live, if you will, the keynote. We'll be watching it alongside with you, and we're going to pause and give our thoughts and comments on that. So we're going to skip through some of this because it's an hour keynote. We do encourage you to watch it all. Lots of good information on there. So go back and see it all, but we're going to highlight some of the things and watch the most of it with you here. So with me, of course, I've got Chris McCain. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Brad. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. So at this, we're going to join in right when Paul Turner comes on, but I don't want to miss what Hawk said. So I think a few things for me that he said I thought was interesting. Number one, we always appreciate the VMUG shout out on main stage.
I knew you would start. I knew you would start there. I knew you would start with the VMUG shout out. I knew it.
Of course, man, you have to.
Yeah.
But the second thing is this is, 9 is the first major release under Broadcom. And this is the first time that members are seeing in real time the vision of Hawk and the vision of Broadcom. Everybody marching toward VCF, and everybody that's their only focus. It's the sole focus. And I believe that you see that in what they've done in VCF 9. Many of you, that launched a couple of months ago, and we're going to hear more about it during this keynote. So I thought that part was very interesting. And it's good to see. I did talk to some members at Explore, and their comments was like, look, it took me about a year to digest everything, but now seeing 9, and I understand the vision and where things are going. And so, look, you might not be happy with everything that's happening, but at least now people are understanding it, and that makes it a whole lot easier. And there's some exciting things in the keynote from other customers to talk about how they're utilizing it. What were your takeaways, Chris, from the Hawk TAN portion of the keynote?
Well, on the customer side, I agree with you wholeheartedly, right? There's this mindset shift that's occurring. But what's interesting about Hawk's portion is he's been steadfast for a long time on exactly what he has said at every Explore that he's ever been a part of. There's been no change in the way he's looked at his vision and strategy for everything VMware by Broadcom. So, he focuses on the fact that we're doing really strong engineering to make the product the best platform that you could possibly have. We are wanting organizations to realize that the best success, the best chance of success you have is to break down the silos and bring teams together. And all of this is really coming to fruition now with VCF 9, which is exactly what he's seen for years now. And now the rest of the industry is starting to see what he's been saying for years. So I think it's great that he's not coming out every year and saying, oh, we do this, oh, we do this, oh, we do this. Every year it's been the same. We are going to build the best private cloud product you could possibly have. And we are going to invest in R&D, and we are going to help you get that thing deployed and make it easy to consume. So this year was no different, right? And I expect until he's dominated the way he wants to dominate in the private cloud market, we're going to continue to hear him say that, and he's just going to keep doing that again and again and again. So it was good to see.
Great point. Yeah, good thoughts there. All right, we're going to dive into where Paul Turner comes on and kind of listen, and we'll pause along the way and have our comments here. So this is at the keynote. So this is roughly about 11 minutes in, and we did bypass the Hawk talk, and they had talked about Barclays. And so we are going to start in with Paul coming on stage here.
I need to get Paul some Nikes.
Wow, what a great audience. It's kind of fun actually being back here in Vegas. But, more importantly, what a story from Barclays. For them, VCF isn't just infrastructure. It's powering their business. It's delivering a secure private cloud for all their applications, including AI. They have transformed IT, and VCF isn't following that transformation. It is leading it. So for years, one thing's been true: vSphere is everywhere. It changed how business gets done. It allowed us to standardize and automate IT operations. But virtualization was just the start. The next chapter is private cloud. Delivering secure, trusted applications today requires governance of networking, storage, backup, DR, security policies, these define the application perimeter and the reliability, security, and availability of that application. VMware Cloud Foundation, VCF, delivers on that full promise of private cloud. Automated, secure, and ready for all applications. VMs, yes. Containers, yes. AI, yes. This will power the next generation of the data center and deliver an agile, secure, private cloud environment that can be delivered anywhere. On premises, edge, hyperscalers, every hyperscaler that you know deploys us, and of course, all our service providers and CSPs. It's IT moving at the speed of developers, but providing the controls, security, and trust the business requires. You know, from global banks to healthcare, governments, defense industries, the most critical services that you know run on VCF. And 9 out of the top 10 Fortune companies committed to VCF. It's trusted by 95% of top manufacturers, 90% of public sector, 85% of financial services. Even the biggest technology companies that you know, 90% of them are committed to VCF. Healthcare organizations. You know, and today, I'm really, really pleased to announce that Walmart, the #1 Fortune company in the world,
That's a big get.
is committed also.
It is. You know, pause it there for a moment, because you know, Walmart is obviously a very, very big company. Not that Barclays isn't, right? But you know, Walmart is one of those ones that they're so big, oftentimes off-the-shelf type solutions just don't work because they don't scale to the level that Walmart might need. So having Walmart buying into this idea that VCF is going to solve business problems for them is a really big win for that engineering that we were just talking about, right? The fact that Hock has invested so much in building a platform that will scale to the size of what an organization like Walmart needs, it just shows how much has changed in just a few short years.
Yeah, that's interesting insight because, you know, like you said, Walmart is massive, and to be able to do it off the shelf, I haven't thought of it like that, but that's impressive. Paul on a slide earlier talked about the number of people that have adopted VCF, and I can tell you, we just did a VMUG survey, and 52% of our members have purchased and are deployed VCF.
Really? That's great.
Yeah, that is a great number. And I know Hock talks about 87% of the top 10,000 customers or whatever. But some of you might be thinking, you know, that's great, Barclays, Walmart. I don't have that kind of budget. Well, 80% of VMUG members are commercial or SMB. So that 52% extrapolates among them all. So it's not just the enterprise people that are going down the VMware and VCF path. And, you know, there's some other points coming up here that we'll touch on, but wanted to share that 52%.
And, you know, it's interesting too, because we talk about how many customers are embracing the idea of VCF, but even yesterday on the earnings call, Hock talked about how important it is that they don't just buy it, they have to deploy it. And so, you know, we're making tremendous investments in partners, as well as making the product easier to consume naturally, to be able to get customers to actually use all of these different components that make up the private cloud, because only then are they going to start to realize the exponential value of building that private cloud to operate like the public cloud does. So I think it's really important to understand there's buying and there's deploying, and we know they're buying, but now we are just, you know, going all in on making sure that this isn't just a purchasing decision, that they are going to invest what it takes. And we're doing that, partners are doing that to make sure they're actually building private clouds they can use.
And VMUG members have shifted from asking the why, and now they're asking how. It's less about help me out, you know, to justify this, ROI, all this kind of stuff. Now it's like, okay, I've got it. And the mandate from the C-level is, we bought it, let's use it all. And, you know, some companies might not be able to use, and they don't have to use 100% of it, but you got to use enough of it to where it makes sense to renew it in the next year. And that's kind of is what VMUG members are getting excited about. They've been saying for years, I want to do vSAN, I want to do NSX, I want to do ARIA. Well, now you bought it, so now's your chance to go use it all.
And listen, I mean, you and I have met with Hock. We had breakfast with Hock. This is exactly why he loves VMUG, right? Is because they are the practitioners. They are the people who, once the why is solved, they need to know the how. They want that information because it's value to them as part of their career, which is critical for the success of that deployment. So, look, he's been steadfast in his messaging. He's been steadfast in his love for VMUG, and that's why we continue to see great success with VMUG and their community wanting more and more information on how to do this. So it's all coming together now. It makes sense.
It is with 9. All right, we'll continue on.
Vendor for virtualization. What we are doing there is we're helping to unify all of Walmart's global distributed operations with VCF. So you're not alone. Everyone's moving this way. A year ago today, I was on this stage and we announced VCF 9.0. And we delivered on that promise. Over 1 million hours of engineering, 5,000 engineers, 8,000 patents underpin
That's
that technology.
Crazy, 8,000 patents.
VCF9 delivered, available now, GA earlier this year.
How many of those are yours, Chris?
Don't just take my
big fat 0.
Our V experts are kind of like the leading technologists. They're like the gurus of virtualization. Why don't we hear what they have to say?
This is a cool little setup, the way they did this.
We all know the drill with patching. Schedule your maintenance windows, migrate your workloads, reboots.
William Lamb.
It's really time consuming. You need to repeat this a couple hundred
We're
times
not worth
your
it.
environment. This is why I'm super excited for live patching in VCF 9, a true game changer. Patch your ESXOs with 0 reboots, 0 migrations, and 0 downtime. Your weekends are now back. When a new patch drops, head over to VCF Operations, your single place to download, schedule, and deploy. Fast, simple, and secure.
We all know threats are getting worse every day. Your perimeter, it's not enough anymore. Ransomware will find your data and lock it, steal it, or leak it online. That's why I'm excited about VCF9 SecOps Dashboard. I can stay one step ahead. Data at rest encryption is built in, so your data is protected before hackers even get close. Plus, it watches who's accessing what and flags anything suspicious. Brilliant.
Before, we were constantly console hopping, one for capacity, another for certificates, health checks elsewhere. It was scattered, manual, and easy to miss critical stuff. Now
Amen to
VCF
that.
Diagnostics is built right into VCF Operations. One view for your entire private cloud stack. Seamlessly monitor health, track capacity, and catch expiring certificates early, all in one place. Finally.
Finally. Tell him, Eric.
Biggest
Preach.
challenge we used to have was efficiency, especially with duplicate data spread across multiple disk groups and hosts. But now with vCen 9.0, we finally introduced global deduplication, which scans the entire cluster for duplicate data without actually interfering with the virtual machines because it runs post-process, so there's no impact from a performance perspective. It has made storage planning simpler, it reduces cost, and it helps getting administrators more out of the hardware they already own. And on top of that, with memory tiering in vSphere 9.0, we're also cutting compute costs by offloading cold memory pages to high-speed storage.
Creating a virtual private cloud can be complicated, requiring NSX skills, network expertise, and multiple teams. Even in vSphere, it was manual and time-consuming. With VCF 9, that's changed. VPCs can now be created in under 30 seconds right from the vCenter. No handoffs, no network knowledge, just simple, intuitive workflows with built-in multi-tenancy. Fast, easy, efficient. Even my mom can do it.
So I thought that was interesting. I agree with you, Chris. That was kind of cool the way they did it. So a couple of points there, live patching. Thank goodness that's coming out. I know there was a little bit of that in 5.2, and I heard people when it first came out, they're like, well, now I get to the next version to be able to, utilize that because we haven't, we haven't had it before. It's out. You got to have a patch in the future to be able to do that. The other thing is the certs expiration. I know that's a pain that's a pain for everybody. I'll say it that way. And then, kudos to Daniel. He was sporting his Broadcom night shirt. That's kind of impressive. What was your takeaways from that little vignette there?
Well, I mean, look, live patching, game changer for sure for customers. Eric's talk about centralizing the information about the private cloud was absolutely critical. There's no way that this could have been anywhere near a success if we were still in a position where we had to go to 3 or 4 different windows to see different parts of the environment. So and this is something I've been hoping for a long time, is just having the centralization of all this data into a place where you only have to go one location and you can see everything that you need to see about the environment. So the consolidation of all those different tools into VCF operations, another game changer for sure.
All right, let's continue.
So what do you think about that? Come on. You know, it's actually great to hear from the V experts, but you know, they missed on my favorite feature.
I'm a little upset that I wasn't on this V expert thing.
My favorite is native
Always
Kubernetes
dream there,
built into
Chris.
VCF stack. You know, that looks a heck of a lot better, right?
I mean, even Paul Turner's a V expert now.
Anyway, aside from that, you know, you hear from us, you hear from V experts. It's really important that we hear from customers like you. So please welcome on stage Jeremy Wright.
This was
Director of
amazing.
IT at Grinnell Mutual.
Amazing.
Jeremy.
I had dinner with this guy Sunday night, and man, what a great story.
Good morning.
Nice shoes.
My name is Jeremy Wright, and I am the Director of IT Infrastructure at Grinnell Mutual. We are a 116-year-old insurance company tucked away in small town.
116-year-old.
And just like Grinnell, I consider my team to be small but mighty. We're just 17 dedicated individuals supporting mission critical
17.
workloads for our customers, agents, and mutuals across 19 states. So let me take you back to last year's Explore. I was out here, just like many of you, and I was wondering, what is Broadcom going to do with VMware? And is VCF 9 going to be fit for a small outfit like mine? You know, I had followed the acquisition very
That was
closely.
PBS on
I had
stage
seen what
there.
people were saying about pricing, so I came here looking for answers. And as I listened to sessions on VCF 9's tighter integration, I really started to think, you know, like this looks like it's a good fit for really big companies, but is it powerful enough and fit for a team like mine? And that doubt lingered. You know, I went to a pivotal vSAN session, and it was a session on the financials of vSAN. And at the end of that session, I walked up to John Nicholson and I asked him a question. I said, how do you get someone like me who's very, very comfortable with discrete storage and how we use that across a metro storage cluster to go to something like vSAN? And his answer was just one sentence, but it gave me a very good perspective that I used that night to go over the math.
I wish he would have said what the sentence was.
You know, going vSAN over discrete storage could save me up to $1 million on my next renewal. And so I got really excited. I started going into these V experts blogs like William Lamb's, getting on the subreddits, listening to other customers. And I started to look at, you know, global deduplication and site maintenance mode for stretch clusters like ours. And, you know, VCF started to feel like it's not going to be too big for us and that it's just going to perfectly scale to my small team. But convincing the C-suite is never automatic. You know, our hardware wasn't up for renewal until March of 2026. We had SQL licensing coming up, Microsoft renewals overlapping with this change. And so I drew on years of budget wrangling to craft a 5-year plan about how we were going to slash our lease spending and optimize our Microsoft renewals and deliver creative lease timing or creative timing on these payments. And I presented it all to the CFO and the COO. And once I made that case crystal clear about how we would manage that transition period, they were on board. And so what sealed it for us and what is continuing to seal it for us is how VCF is transforming our infrastructure from the ground up. You know, Grinnell's over a century old. Our IT has been layered on decade after decade, and it can be really hard to make change in an environment like that. But VCF is helping us do that. And it's not just software, it's really a unifier for us. So for the first time, my network, systems, DevOps, DBA, desktop automation, telecom teams are working very closely together in the same platform. And we also have security at Grinnell. You know, whether you're protecting 100 people or 10,000 people, a lot of the tooling is the same. So our small security team has a lot of ground to cover. And VCF is turning out to be a force multiplier for our small security team as well. And, you know, VCF is really this hub where we're all coming to work together and we're building this shared understanding of what we're all doing. We're all in the same meetings. We understand the why behind, you know, how is this architected? Why did we do this? You know, on a platform like AWS, I would need to hire more people. We would need to get more people in. We would have to build additional skills and we would end up creating additional silos because of that. But with VCF, it's really allowing my small team to extract maximum value from a really cohesive set of tools. And, you know, that unifying software, it extends to that pain point that exists between infrastructure and developers. You know, our developers were really struggling with VDI that we had built for them to run their IntelliJ IDE. And so we launched what I call Operation Monday. It's all about giving time back to the developer. We're going to containerize our IDE, and then we're going to deliver that to them using VMware Kubernetes Service and VCF automation for the self-services piece. You know, it's a really exciting crossover engineering experience
where we don't have to talk to them or teach them about the VDI performance intricacies, and they don't have to school us on their developer tools. And so what is this all going towards? What is it all laddering up to? It's really allowing us to capture the full power of private cloud. You know, I talked about like needing to hire more people to do this in AWS. And there's this misconception that public cloud is always going to equal fewer people, but I just couldn't make that make sense. I would definitely need more headcount with additional skills. And so the story I'm telling, and the story you should be telling, is that VCF builds you a private cloud with all of the features, self-service, scalability, data sovereignty, you know, without the public cloud headaches. Stop thinking about it as servers and infrastructure and start thinking and talking about it as private cloud, period. That $1 million savings that I was talking about, you know, that's really just the start. VCF is going to change every single one of the renewal conversations that we have in the next 3 to 5 years. And it's really exciting because all I see is possibility for saving money. You know, I've used VMware products since the 2.x days, and I feel like VMware has made me 2 promises. The first one is that, you know, we're going to let you virtualize your workloads and extract maximum value from the hardware that you already own. And they've been delivering on that promise for a really, really long time. The second one is that we're going to enable customers of any size to run a full stack private cloud on-prem. And for the first time, I really feel like VMware and Broadcom are delivering on that promise. So if my small team can embrace VCF, certainly so can you. And if a small team like mine can and have these big ideas and do big things inside of VCF, so can you. Dive into the sessions, talk to your reps. I really think that your aha moment is out there waiting for you at Explore this year. I want to say thank you to my Grinnell Mutual infrastructure team. Without them, none of this is possible. I want to say thank you to 27 Virtual for being an amazing partner during our implementation. And thank you to Broadcom for finally delivering a platform that lets our small shop punch above its weight. You know.
All right, before we get to Paul, a lot to unpack there. So I'm going to go first, Chris. It was interesting how, you know, it's amazing to me they're a 17-person company. And I don't know what their revenues are. I've never heard of Grinnell Mutual before this, but I'm like, okay, that's impressive. That really resonated with me because, like we touched on earlier, you know, most of VMUG members can do this. They can come up with those savings. When you think about the way he incorporated in the entire spend, he had leases. He adjusted leases on that. He then was able to save money on the storage because of things like memory tiering. He talked about it being a force multiplier. The other point I thought was interesting, and I'm trying to kind of put my head in of a typical VMUG member, is, you know, a lot of people are, or sometimes I hear, well, we're not a developer shop, so we don't really use Kubernetes and we don't need VKS and those kind of things. And a little bit the same with AI, but this is a 100-year-old plus company, and they have developers, and I think they're 700 people, and every company is an IT company. He's in insurance, but he's got developers, and he's got to be able to deliver that, you know, like the developers want it, because everybody's on their app taking pictures of their house, or I don't know if they're PNC or what kind of insurance they are, but it doesn't matter. So I think we need to get our VMUG members in that mindset. The talking about it like a private cloud, I thought was key. Another thing I heard throughout the VMware Explore was this is not a product, this is a platform. So I think whether you think about it as a platform or private cloud is fantastic. And then the last piece is the skills. We know from VMUG surveys, skills gap is a big thing. If you go off of VMware, you are dumping decades worth of skills per employee that you're going to have to make up. And that is not going to be easy. It's not going to be cheap. And if you are cycling to a different hypervisor, you're not going to have the features that you're used to with VMware. So that's my take. What you got, Chris?
Well, look, when it comes to Explore, I think there's a lot of companies who are willing to get on stage, but I don't think they all can get on stage, right? Whether it's a legal issue or whatever it is. So finding these people, Barclays and Grinnell, to be on stage is not an easy thing to do. And then when you find them, you hope that everything that you expected out of your platform is what they're getting. Now, I can tell you this. I went to dinner with Jeremy on Sunday, and everything he said is only a fraction, I think, of what he could have. Like, he was saying stuff at dinner, and I was like, are you saying that in your talk? He's like, no, I don't have time. And then he would say something else. I'm like, are you saying that in your talk? He's like, no, I don't have time.
I could have listened to him for the entire hour.
I wish he would have had 25 or 30 minutes to go, because he, like, some of the sound bites he had in there, which are so genuine to his organization, would resonate with so many customers, right? And you could even see in the Explorer, I talked about Hawk being steadfast and the difference between VMware and Broadcom. Look, we've never had a customer like Grinnell be on the main stage. It was always MedComsoft, Nike, Marriott, like these giant organizations. So the people sitting in the audience were almost alienated from this idea that, hey, what they're talking about is not me because I'm not that large of an organization. So I think it was really good to have Barclays, which shows that, hey, this scales to any organization, but then also have somebody like Grinnell that says, look, I'm small, but I need all of this same functionality. I need all of the same characteristics that a Barclays needs in order to meet what my business objectives. So, I mean, he was brilliant up there with the way he talked about everything. And look, you look at what Hawk said, right? You talk about breaking down the silos. Jeremy said, I'm breaking down the silos. You look at what Paul's saying about vSAN, and Jeremy is saying, yeah, we're leveraging vSAN. And trust me, he wasn't coached on what to say. This is Grinnell. This is really what they are doing. He didn't talk a lot about security, but I've had some conversations with them, and they've actually participated in some of our security programs around vDefend. So they are all in. They're using the full stack, and they expect to realize exponential value. And he used the term force multiplier. I mean, goodness gracious, right? What a great way or characteristic to apply to the private cloud, that it's a force multiplier, because it's true, but it's different when you hear it from me, who works at Broadcom, versus Jeremy, who's actually seeing it happen in his organization. So I agree with you. He was brilliant. To me, he was the best part of the entire talk because of the just how genuine and real it seemed for him at his organization.
Agreed. Again, I could have listened to him for 30, 60 minutes, how much ever time they gave him.
We may need him at a VMUG next year, right?
Well, I was about to say, Jeremy, if you're listening to this, my LinkedIn invite connection is a couple days old, sitting in your inbox. So connect.
Hey, I know a guy who knows a guy. I know a guy who knows a guy. So.
Gotta get him. Gotta get him. Are his team members? I mean, it would be great to talk to the storage engineer or the networking engineer to say, hey, how did you do this? Especially those silos that aren't traditionally, VMware type customers.
Yeah.
But it seemed like they were all bought in when he said that part about, we all get together and we gather around VCF. I'm paraphrasing.
We're all in the same meetings. We're all communicating.
Yes.
Yeah. What a difference.
That's the holy grail. That's where we all want to be.
I'm pitching a Chris McCain sit down with Jeremy Wright. That's what I'm pitching.
I like it. Let's make it happen. Coming to a connect.
I don't want Hawk to be mad. I don't want Hawk to be mad, though, that I'm not sitting with him. We'll have to do both.
We'll figure it out.
All right, let's rock and roll here. Paul had a little wardrobe change like the Oscars.
It's amazing when you hear a powerful story like that from Grinnell Mutual. They modernized, they had faster delivery, stronger security. Their small team was able to scale, and simpler operations. Whether it's small, mid-sized businesses, large or full strategic businesses, big government industries, all of them can be powered by VCF. So I changed shirt. Why? I'm not talking about just what we've done, a 9. You can get all that stuff now. We're talking about the next generation VCF. And I'm really pleased to talk about kind of 3 big areas that we're looking at investing in, that we are investing in, to actually deliver the next part of the VCF 9 platform. Infrastructure at the speed of the developer, private AI, but as a service, and cyber resilient data. So Hawk talked about developers, and they need velocity. But what causes velocity? Right? We've got to accelerate developers. We've got to help them move faster, that accelerated path to production. That's what creates velocity. Okay, so what if developers got the autonomy that they need, but IT stayed in control? That's the shift. Developers get everything they want: speed, agility for their applications. Business maintains security, trust, maintain the confidentiality of the business overall. The developers, I'm really happy to announce all of these new things that we are doing to accelerate that developer speed, that accelerate that velocity of the developers and the autonomy of them. All of these are new developer services. vSAN native S3 object storage built into the platform, available to all of you. Yes, block interfaces, file interface, S3 interfaces. Secure enterprise grade Postgres and MySQL delivered by us storage, database as a service available for all of you and for all of those developers. Full IaaS stack, all developer as a service. You're going to see it a little later. GitOps with Argo CD built in, so you can actually do CI/CD pipelines, application delivery. You can go from the Git-based YAML spec of all of your different applications to auto deployment of those applications. An Istio service mesh. You
Listen
don't just
to
need
Paul getting all
containers as a
techie.
service. VMs, you've got
I like
containers
it.
as a service.
Well, he's a
you've
V
got
expert
build
now.
function as a service. And I can actually interface those functions through a service mesh that we
This
maintain.
talk is what makes him a V expert. He's
Policy
yelling
is
out
coded.
YAML
Everything is
specs
codified.
and
Everything
service
is
mesh.
written, all
Go,
of the
Paul.
specs in terms of your firewall rule settings, your load balancer rule settings, everything configured in so that I can store that in my Git, publish it, do my pipeline push, my CI/CD pipeline push, you name it. And hardened containers, but more on that later. These 6 new features are going to dramatically accelerate developer productivity. And the cool thing is, they build on something that's already there in 9.0. vSphere Kubernetes services, not just 9.0, it's there in 5.2.2. vSphere Kubernetes services, native in the platform. Okay, this gives you full lifecycle management of Kubernetes. Most importantly, the CNCF compliant, right? Cloud Native Compute Foundation, the open source standard for maintaining Kubernetes. This is fully compliant with that, available to all of your customers. You get multi-cluster management so that you can manage across the different vCenter and different domain regions that you have for your environment. But not just that, Kubernetes requires a whole set of services to actually be complete. All of the standard Kubernetes packages are maintained and supported by us for you, all part of VCF.
So I think this is interesting, and this isn't my wheelhouse, but you see the standard packages on the right there. I mean, that really is bringing the hyperscaler experience down to the private cloud. And of course, hyperscalers probably have a gajillion standard packages, but not everybody's using all of those things. So it is nice to see this continue to get built out and really come to life, that concept of you can operate like a hyperscaler. I mean, you can, like right now, you can do that.
Yeah, what's interesting to me about this and the whole, operate at the speed of the developer thing is realistically, we can do exactly what you just said, right? And we can arm all of the vSphere engineers with the tools to do this. What I wish we would do is take this story and go to KubeCon and tell it, right? Go tell it to the developer community, because their mindset right now is stuck in this, oh, I have to do it in these other tools. I can only do it in these tools that I know of. Whereas we have this ability. And what's interesting, like Jeremy said, and Barclays is once you open your mind to the idea that you can do your containers on top of the private cloud sitting alongside your virtual machines, it opens up a whole new world. But we have to get the developer community to want to know what it is we're providing. Then the vSphere engineer can be the one that's giving them that infrastructure to be able to consume. So our messaging to the vSphere engineer should really be, hey, this is how you're going to do it. And then we need to turn and give the message to the developer that says, this is why you want to leverage what your virtualization team can provide for you. So, it's interesting because the Kubernetes stuff, you got to look at it from both of those perspectives. So I think we need to do a better job of taking this to the developer community to say, hey, this is your best option because of all these other things that we can do underneath it to protect it, to make it cost effective, but it's not going to change the operational model of the way you're deploying applications. But I don't know that enough developers know that.
I would think they'd be interested in it, because if they know that, hey, I can operate like I used to, they don't care where the compute's coming from. And you tell them, look, you can get the compute from your company, your enterprise. Let them worry about the security. This thing gets breached, that's on infrastructure. That's not on you. I mean, unless it's a code type thing. But you think they would be like, great, no more rogue IT. I don't have to worry about throwing down a credit card and doing all that. I'm just going to go consume this and consume all you want. And they'll come back to you. Infrastructure will come back to you when the price is out of whack.
Exactly. I don't think a developer cares so much about the underlying platform. What they care about is, oh, do I have to make this significant change to the way that I work in order to consume? But once they realize, well, this isn't different, right? I'm gonna do the same things I do, but instead of consuming on top of this or consuming on top of this, I'm consuming on top of vSphere. What do they care, right? As long as they can deploy their application and there's benefits to that beyond just, oh, well, I don't want to change the way I work. Why wouldn't they do it?
Yep.
All included. That means you get Prometheus for monitoring. You get a Harbor registry service. You get Valero, so you can do backup of your container-based applications, and much, much more, right? Pinniped for identity management. Everything included. This is what vSphere Kubernetes service is. VMs, containers, fully orchestrated with Kubernetes in the platform. Now, I'm particularly excited about this announcement. This is huge. We're taking the #1 private cloud, which is your beloved VCF, but we're combining it with the #1 cloud OS in the world. Anyone know what that is? It's Canonical Ubuntu. Canonical Ubuntu. With this partnership, all of you are going to get an integrated Ubuntu with full maintained security updates, maintenance updates included in the platform. Long-term support included. You get these chisel containers. A chisel container allows us to actually build we remove all the periphery libraries that are unnecessary for running that individual container. So what have you just done? You've reduced the security risk for that container. And you do it for every container that you have, minimizing any security threats or risk. And AI-ready images. So you've got all of the vGPU drivers, so out of box, the fastest AI deployment possible. Together with Canonical Ubuntu and the VCF platform and a vSphere Kubernetes service, this is the easiest Kubernetes deployment possible. It is Kubernetes at scale. It is containers and VMs in one platform, all orchestrated with Kubernetes. Thank you.
So just a side note there, Canonical was there at Explore and they talked to us at the booth. I've already had a conversation with them yesterday about how they can get more involved in VMUG and talk about, what this means. And I think that's great. It kind of falls in line of, we need to be talking about more than just VCF. Of course, we'll always talk about VCF, but things like, how do you manage and work things like Canonical, Ubuntu, manage Linux, et cetera. So that was an interesting announcement, and we're looking forward to getting
look, the VMUG members are in some cases the first avenue into that developer community, right? So the more the VMUG member understands why developers should be using VCF, they can position that to them, right? Hey, look, you use Ubuntu when you go to AWS or you go to Google, whatever it is, you have that same capability here, right? You use this particular tool, you have that same capability. So the whole, application development, speed of the developer, all this kind of stuff, I think it's important for the VMUG members to understand conceptually why this is so critical. But look, at the same time, this is adding so much value to what a vSphere engineer does for an organization. So some people will look at it like, oh my God, I already got a lot of work to do and I'm already blah, 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 blah. But look, if you're trying to make sure that you're a valuable part of your organization, if you're trying to build longevity in this career, just focusing on a hypervisor is no longer going to be enough, right? I think even if you watch the Barclays video, he mentions that everybody has to have multiple skills. You have to be able to do different things within the environment. That's how you generate value. So as a vSphere engineer, you have so many avenues now where I could focus on hypervisor plus storage, hypervisor plus networking, hypervisor plus containers, hypervisor plus security. There's so much choice, but doing that is what's really going to solidify that you're going to be able to provide value and solutions for what the business needs. So it's pretty cool to see all of this coming together in this way that really makes a virtualization engineer so critical and powerful to the enterprise that wants to do a private cloud.
I mean, it's a massive career path for anybody that wants to embrace it. And there's some change and learning, but I mean, it's all out there for the taking.
Well, that's why there's VMUG, right?
That's right.
I should have paused and waited for a clap and a cheer. It is very cool. It is kind of cool. But instead of me talking about it, because it's much more fun to actually see a demo, which is why I have the shirt on. So let's kind of see with this accelerated path to production. Remember, developer autonomy, IT control. So I'm the IT guy. So I've got it set up inside the organization, multiple organizations. This is full multi-tenancy in the VCF platform: legal, finance, engineering, IT.
I like to bring Keynote, demos to the Keynote.
Multiple regions.
Yeah, it's nice.
Deploy, disaster recovery as they need to for their applications. And I also I'll go over to the services. I've enabled a whole set of services that development team can run. Remember, they can run independently of IT, but all of this through the policy control of IT. So I've set up a Kubernetes service for them. They, of course, have a virtual machine service. They have volume and network. Of course, they need to have the IaaS stack. But I've also enabled some other cool things. I've enabled private AI. All of the AI services are available to them. All of those images are available to them.
That bottom one say secret store.
They can manage their container runtimes. But you will notice they're missing
Never noticed that
data
before.
services. And most applications actually need a stateful database. So why don't we enable some database services that IT thinks are the right controlled ones that their security teams have approved? So we'll go and enable that. Go into the data services, right? This is database as a service. Go to the data service layer, add a new data service policy. This one I'm going to call the Postgres policy. You're going to guess which database I'm deploying. Deployed it into one particular region. You can see I have a choice: MySQL, Postgres, or even Microsoft SQL Server. We can deploy and manage SQL Server instances too. So I'm going to select Postgres, and IT thinks that the only secured versions that have gone through their quality pipeline are versions 14 and 15, and you can allow minor versions of them, but they're the only ones that right now are through the certification process and approved. So we're going to make that available, but at this point, everything's available. Database as a service. You'll notice that the data services is now an install service ready for that tenant. Every tenant looks like this. Each of the tenants, you can decide what are the right services that get deployed for each of them. It's as easy as that. That is what a cloud looks like. That is a big change. So now, to walk us through the developer experience, please welcome on stage our senior VCF technical lead, Sabina Anya.
Good morning, everybody. Let's have a little bit of fun. In this scenario, my team is responsible for the legal oversight application at a large enterprise. You can tell I'm one of the developers. This application helps us move faster without any compliance issues. Now, before we ship a new feature, maybe a self-driving capability, a new data sharing model, or even an update to how we store things like customer contracts, we need to know, is this even legally allowed in every country you operate in? Now, this is what this app does. It connects to a knowledge base of regulations, queries an AI model, and gives us a green, yellow, or red light based on region, product, and especially legal risk. Now, to build it, I'm going to need a few things. I'm going to need a front end. I'm going to need a Postgres database. I'm going to need a GenAI backend to evaluate all of this data, and a set of Kubernetes services, clusters for the components of the application, and a model runtime managed with my hardware model gallery. But here's the key. I don't want to wait weeks to get infrastructure provision. I don't want to write tickets for load balancers or firewalls and for it still not to work. I want infrastructure to be code. Now, as a developer, this is my starting point. All the services I need, databases, Kubernetes, load balancers, even private AI, are right here, ready to use. I have project spaces for my development and production versions of my applications. Inside the production project, I can spin up an application namespace for deploying my app. In the application namespace, I'll just fill in the basics: app name, region, and class. The platform enforces the right policies behind the scenes. Now, I can place my app across different availability zones. Each zone is an independent fault domain with separate power, network, and infrastructure. It's the same model the public cloud uses. And now I get that resilience in my private cloud.
Just what we were talking about.
I've chosen multiple zones so I get resilience without ever needing to touch the infrastructure. And I can select the level of isolation by choosing either a virtual private cloud that's dedicated or shared. Now, everything is in place for my application. From here, I'm going to shift to code because my deployment is automatic through Git. Let's go ahead and look at that application a little bit. I'm back in my IDE. This is home base for me. I'm defining everything the app needs in code. And as a developer, I've mentioned it before, I don't want to open tickets. I don't want to be bounced around different IT teams. I don't want to hear the person is on holiday. I want to declare my security policies in YAML with what traffic to allow, what to block, and the platform will enforce it automatically. I'm defining my Postgres cluster. There's no need to deploy and configure a database. IT has set it up for me as a service. I have replication, storage, backup schedules, all of them captured in code. Now, all of this means consistency every time with resilience built in. Now, this is GitOps, right? The work is just code, commit. The update is tracked, it's reviewed, it's reproducible. That's it. You get 8 YAML files, firewall rules, database configs, cluster settings, front-end deployment. All of this is versioned together. And when I push, Git automation will take over. The platform will deploy the app, it applies the policies, provisions the database. Its infrastructure as code, just like I expect. That's a lot going on there. So it's also quick. So what just happened? Argo CD saw my Git change. This is my CI/CD pipeline. My application, legal oversight. Remember the contracts review? That was out of sync, and auto sync kicked in. The desired state includes web service deployment, security policy, dev cluster references. and a Postgres cluster. Result, my app is healthy. My sync is okay. My front-end pods are running 1 out of 1. From commit to a secured, fully running application and database, automated and audible with GitOps. Now, once Argo's done syncing, this is where I'll go next. I'm going to come back into the platform because I want to get a view of how the app is performing. Things like CPU, memory, even cost. This is scoped directly to my application. If something spikes, I have direct visibility into the app, its resources, and its context. Now, what is developer autonomy at the end of the day? Defining my application in code, pushing to Git, and the platform helping me taking it from there. I get to stay in familiar tools, things I'm used to, VS Code, GitHub, and I get to consume approved services from the catalog.
That's the key.
And at the end,
Yeah.
everything in one place. So that is the developer view. We're now going to go back to the admin view and hand it back to Paul.
So that piece about the developer view, the developer within VCF looking at, the app there. So, now you even got developers in, VCF, and I'm sure it's a limited piece, but they have the visibility to see what their apps are doing performance-wise, those kind of things. That's pretty cool. I didn't notice that the first time around.
Yeah, I kind of missed that when she was going through it too. But, this is one of those things where if you're a developer looking at this, you're like, wow, right? This is, I didn't know this could happen. I didn't know we could do this like this, which goes back to my earlier comment, right? We need to make sure developers understand that we're giving them this environment that mimics the exact way that they typically work. We're just wrapping it into something that is aligned with the rest of the business objectives for everybody else that is not doing development, right? The regular virtual machines, the virtualization team, the security team, all of that coming together. That's what's really unique about this proposition here with building the private cloud is you're able to build something that's centralized across something with rich context from component to component to component, as opposed to vendor 1, vendor 2, vendor 3, vendor 4, and now trying to figure out how do I piecemeal this together to do exactly what you just said. I'm developing over here, but then I want to go monitor my application over here, right? Bringing it all together, it seems like the best way to go about doing this. It's just a matter of time that, customers start to realize this. And that's what we're starting to see.
Isn't it great to hear an excited, happy developer? I mean, I'm the IT guy. They used to think of me as the Department of Motor Vehicles. Yeah, the DMV, as quick as that. Not anymore, not anymore. So, thank you, Sabina, for that. I should have said at the very beginning, but anyhow. But let's go back to the admin view. Here again, full visibility into it. I can see the quotas, I can see the region usage, memory, disk, I can see the clusters, the databases used. I can see, most importantly, costing. So let's drill into the legal application, right? We've just deployed that. You can see that on a particular basis, I can see the actual growth and trends over time of how that usage has been, and you can see the growth in that usage. But I can also drill down into the containers and the VMs that are used by that applications. So this isn't just about chargeback, cost back, and how can we actually allow empowered developers and better resource management. All of that is true. But I also get full visibility into the application. Imagine how that helps you on diagnostics, working with your application teams, things have gone wrong, how to actually root cause issues. Amazing. So what you've seen is the accelerated path to production. You've seen from the IT side, the complete control that they need to manage their environments. And you've seen the developer, the happy developer, Sabina, the happy developer, because she's got what she needed. Automated delivery of applications.
She needs a shirt next year that says happy developer.
This is a big sea change, the accelerated path to production. But that's one area. So for the next investment area, private AI as a service, please welcome on stage, Chris Wolf.
Yes.
All right, Chris.
All right,
bring it home.
TikTok. We got a lot to get over in this conference, so I'm going to get right to it. And I want to start off with the legal oversight app that you've already seen. And now here's the thing. Our worlds are never perfect, right? You saw this great scenario, but come on, in your world, something always goes wrong. And this is where I'm happy to share with you the VCF Intelligent Assistant. So VCF Intelligent Assist is an AI integrated chatbot. You can ask questions, you can start to get help and more easily resolve any of the support challenges that you might run into. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and start to ask about hey, our legal oversight app, we're running into some performance challenges. What are some things that you might suggest? We get some responses here. Okay, private AI GPU dashboard, that's a pretty good place to take a look. Cool. So, how am I going to get to that? So let's find that out. So let's go ahead and head over to the dashboard in VCF operations. And surprise, right? We got a red area. There's a problem here. We got a hotspot. We want to be able to load balance this. But this is an AI application. So is this something that I can vMotion to rebalance out my cluster? Let's go back to the chat assistant and let's find out. So here we go here. Now we're getting more information. And notice what you're seeing in terms of the sources here for our explainability. It's our docs, it's our KV articles, it's even blogs. So yes, of course, we're also indexing William Lamb's blog. So don't worry, we got you covered. So
how many shout outs does he get this Explorer?
We can do this. Let's go to our vSphere client. The vMotion completes. And these are large language models, large GPUs, major data sets. We can vMotion AI workloads just like anything else, which is pretty freaking cool. So we go back to VCF operations dashboard. Lo and behold, things are looking great. So this is the first thing I wanted to share with you. There's a lot more to come here. I wanted to step back though and talk about Broadcom, because people often ask, what's Broadcom's leadership role in artificial intelligence? What's Broadcom about? And we can break it down into a couple of key points. When you think about open ecosystems, you should be thinking about Broadcom. Our Ethernet business, and Ethernet is backending the largest AI hyperscalers in the world today. You think about Broadcom, you should think about interoperability. You look at VMware Cloud Foundation. You look at the choice of hardware that you have below the stack for your AI workloads and the choice of models and services you have above the stack. So when you're trying to bet on an uncertain future, the best place to bet with and the best partner for you is going to be Broadcom. Now, I'm happy to share more work that we've done with NVIDIA as our partners. When you look at those open ecosystems, NVIDIA has been key to our AI journey for a number of years. And you see a number of announcements here that we're happy to share with you today. This includes additional GPU support. So the Blackwell B200s, the RTX Pro 6000 GPUs, ConnectX 7 and BlueField 3 NICs. This gives you direct path IO, gives you GPU direct RDMA, GPU direct storage, GPU pass-through support as well. And then finally, something you may not be aware of is our HGX reference architecture. A lot of you are consuming AI infrastructure or purchasing AI infrastructure through your OEMs, and you're buying that HGX form factor. Well, you can put VCF on that, extract all the value, and move forward as well. Now, it doesn't just stop there. Last year, we announced our partnership with Intel and Gaudi 3 support. And I'm happy to share with you today that we're taking that ecosystem one step further with support and a partnership with AMD as well. So we will have virtualization enablement and support for the MI350 GPUs going forward. This is giving you the enterprise software stack and that open ecosystem around us as well. So again, more choice for you. And again, this is giving you your choice of accelerators and anything that you're looking to do with AI now and in the future. Now, if I pause, it was 3 years ago. Time flies. 3 years ago, we introduced private AI at this conference on this stage. And what's happened since then? The world has caught on to the notion that you can bring your models to wherever the data resides. You can run those models at a lower cost without having to sacrifice privacy or control of your data. This isn't just our vision anymore. Even the hyperscalers are doing it too. We're happy to have them with us on this journey, but where we differentiate is we are committed to choice of AI models and services, choice of hardware going forward. So you're not having to buy all of these siloed AI appliances. You can bet with us on a common AI platform, and that's going to just enable and unlock choice now and in the future. Now, customers have been on this journey with us as well, and I'm happy to share that over the past year, we've onboarded more than 80 customers. This includes a lot of household names, and several of these, they're partners. They're here with us today. So I'd like to thank Mark. Ram is here, Keith is here. So this is USN Federal Credit Union, University of Texas, University of Bristol. Again, a lot of good momentum across a large number of industry verticals, and that's continuing to move forward. Really fast pace. Now, innovation hasn't stopped there either. There's a lot more here. So some key things I want to highlight. We've shown you some of the things that we're doing in infrastructure already, and our core platform is really going to continue to unlock a lot of that flexibility for you. New innovations coming is not just model context protocol, but ensuring that you have a secure identity chain, ensuring that you have secure role-based access controls as you're bringing these different data feeds into your AI services. Our multi-accelerator model runtime. This means you can deploy a model once. I can change accelerators. This could be AMD GPUs, NVIDIA GPUs, even CPUs. I will not have to refactor my application. And then finally, with multi-tenant models as a service, I can load a single copy of a model into one or more GPUs. I can share that among multiple lines of business or multiple tenants, while keeping all of the data private. This will further lower your costs for AI services as you run them internally, and it gives you the equivalent of what the hyperscalers are doing in the public cloud. Now, how many of you are saying, Chris, this is amazing. Like, how do I get it? How do I get it? You might also be saying, you know what? I have that special someone. The holidays are around the corner. They seem to have everything. What should I do? I got the answer for you. We are now bundling private AI services in VCF 9.0. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah. Now, I've kind of given you the taste of it. I want to give you the full meal now. There's no better person to show you how all these services work than the engineering leader whose team has built these. I'd like to welcome Tasha Drew to the stage.
Thanks, Chris, and hi, everybody. Today, I am super excited to give you a quick tour of some of the capabilities of private AI services and a behind-the-scenes look at how we are using those services to deliver intelligent assist for VMware Cloud Foundation, which Chris just demoed to you. The first service we're going to look at is Model Gallery. As your organization scales its AI workloads, your developers are going to want access to the latest cutting-edge upstream and open source models. This introduces an immediate enterprise governance problem the Model Gallery service is designed to solve. This service gives you tooling and workflows to safely connect to popular model registries on the internet, download models, and then security scan and validate the behavior of those models. Once you're satisfied in the model's provenance, we repackage the model for you so you can upload it to your internal model gallery and share it with the appropriate teams and users using your organization's role-based access control. Here you can see my team's model gallery for Intelligence Assist and some of the other services we're developing. Now that you have models safely imported and shared, you're going to want to be able to deploy those models as a service for your organization. To help you with that, we've developed the Model Runtime Service. From directly within VCF, you can select the model you want to deploy, pass in specific runtime flags, and you're off to the races. Here you can see my team deploying the Qwen 3 embedding model, which is what we're using for Intelligent Assist. And on the right-hand side of the screen, the YAML documents are being automatically created so that you can save this deployment in your CI system for quick and easy recreation. Your deployed models are running behind the ML API gateway. Your users continue to interact with the model via the APIs they're used to, but you have the operational flexibility to scale models up and down horizontally based on load or do a rolling upgrade with no end user impact. Now that you have models as a service running, your users are going to want to use those models to deliver retrieval augmented generation application, or RAG apps. In this architectural pattern, developers instruct a model to compose its answers only using a set of documents that have been provided to it. However, when we talked to our customers, we found that while they saw tremendous value in RAG apps, they were struggling to reliably get their documents out of where they were stored and correctly processed and stored in a vector database. To meet this challenge, we built the Data Indexing and Retrieval Service. This service provides data connectors for popular document locations like Google Drive, Microsoft SharePoint, and Confluence. You can select which documents or folders should be provided in a knowledge base for the RAG app, and we take care of processing those documents. You can also set a regular refresh policy to make sure your AI application's data stays fresh as the original documents are updated. Here you can see the documents my team has processed for the Intelligence Assist. The final service I'm going to highlight today is Agent Builder. Agent Builder is a higher level service you can provide to your developers and data scientists, where they can come to a UI, see the models you're running for them, and the knowledge bases that are available to them to use. Users can then provide specific prompt instructions to the model, manage their tools and knowledge base settings, and quickly test out the agent they've created, allowing for a fast inner development loop. Once you're happy with the agent you've created, here you can see us testing out the Intelligence Assist for Chris's demo. Your agent is safe, and you can use it as a backend service to power your AI applications. Thanks for going on this quick tour of private AI with me. If you'd like to learn more about how to deploy and use these services, please check out this blog for step-by-step instructions. Now back to you, Paul.
All right, so Paul's about to wrap it up, I think, but one thing I wanted to mention on that was it is nice to see the relationship that Broadcom has, or VCF integration, I'll say, with the Intels, with now AMD, with NVIDIA. So, whatever platform or OEM hardware you're using, this stuff is going to work. So I think that's good for everybody. Choice is good. And then the second thing is private AI. So private AI being part of VCF, some people got a little heartburn over going to subscription, but the beauty of that is as things are added, they're there. Like you can start using them. No extra cost, just start using them. And I know that some people are like, well, I don't do anything with AI, but now you have the ability to do it without it costing you anything. So I would encourage you to take the chance and expand your mind and say, all right, let's figure out this AI. Maybe it's a help desk AI where you throw in some, like she said, something in an LLM or a RAG or whatever that can get specific information back to your help desk team that might include things that you're not going to put on the public internet, like internal IP addresses, server names, et cetera, but now you've got that. So you run that a little bit. Again, it's all included now. And then you can say, all right, business unit, we've done this, we've done tests. This is how I can help you. And then it will grow from there. The barrier to having to buy it is now gone. So now you can start using it. I think that's huge. Whether our members are using AI right now or not, they will be in the future. And hopefully they'll be using it a lot sooner now because it's included in the platform.
Yeah, that to me is the biggest piece of Chris Wolf's whole section, and Tasha as well, is the fact that it's now built in. Because here's the reality. Chris mentioned 80 plus customers, right? You have some customers right now that are more mature in this AI journey who have recognized a way to extract value and maybe even revenue, a money maker for AI. But that's a small percentage of customers, right? So then you got a bunch of customers like you were just talking about that I think I can use AI. I think I can do something cool. I think there might be a return, but am I willing to pay extra money now to figure out if maybe this works or not? I don't think so. But now with it being packaged in, we're giving customers that opportunity to say, okay, well, let me explore this. Let me go down this path of, seeing if I can get a learning model to help with my own internal. But you don't necessarily want to pay if you don't know that there's going to be some type of return, unless there's a lot of money there that you can spend on it. So the number of customers who have figured out how to make money off of AI is pretty small. And that now, with it being free, you're going to have that opportunity to experiment, and you're going to start to see the number of customers that make money off of AI is going to grow exponentially, because they have the opportunity to try and fail and try and fail and try, succeed, and then it takes off. So huge announcement that private AI is now going to be part of VCF 9 by default. I think it's phenomenal.
Agreed. And if I'm a VMUG member sitting in my company, I would be chomping at the bit to say, let me take the AI
another avenue, right?
And run with this. I can
Yeah.
do it. I know VMware, we're going to have it. It doesn't cost us anything outside of some time or whatever. So yeah, that's the way to go.
Yeah, just like we talked about earlier, right? The vSphere engineer has now all these different paths they can take to add value. This is just another one, right? You might have a passing interest in AI, and now it becomes something that you study it, you learn it, you see how it's applicable to the virtualization stack. And now all of a sudden your company says, oh, we need you to do that, right? There's value there for that. So it's
Absolutely.
great. Oh, he's got the jacket back on.
Thank you, Tasha. Private AI Foundation is now included. How about that?
Yay.
But there's a third area, cyber resilient data. And, security resilience is no longer a checkbox. It's imperative. We've seen it across industry. One breach, one outage, one ransomware hit, and suddenly it's not your systems at risk. It's your customers, your IP, your reputation, even your license to operate. Marks and Spencer's, back in May, had a $440 million loss, weeks of downtime, online and in store. A leading technology company, Snowflake, had a credential attack. It impacted 165 companies that were using their service. The government and public sector isn't immune to this either. The US National Government Public Database had 2.9 billion records, probably all of your records. Social security numbers, usernames, passwords.
Thanks for the reminder, Paul.
Billions
Yeah,
of records,
right.
billions of losses. VCF is your secure foundation. Built into the platform today, we already have multi-factor authentication, encryption at rest and in motion, secure network zoning, live patching so you can update from those CVEs, and much, much more. But we extend that with our vDefend and ABI work, which looks at runtime security. How do I protect applications and look at actually what's happening on the network? And in real time, get zero trust security, deep threat visibility, and web app protection, meeting your PCI and HIPAA compliance needs. And of course, our Tanzu, I've got to protect the developer pipeline. We can do that. We can not just help you protect it. We can make sure that CVE remediations are done with ease, because you can push code with ease. You can make sure that CVE remediations are done with ease. Because
all right, hang on, Chris. I got to get back to this slide. I meant to pause at time.
Of course, Tanzu, I've got to protect the developer pipeline.
Oh gosh. All right, here we go. So my opinion, they did not give enough time to the ANS division and enough about vDefend and ABI. So to my recollection, this was the only part on there. So can you take us a little bit deeper into that secure runtime piece and what's coming with vDefend and ABI?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, when I saw this and heard him talk about network zoning and segmentation, I thought, well, that's interesting because that comes from vDefend. And then I realized, with VPCs natively have the ability to contain within a VPC. So that's what they're talking about there. So not so much from a firewalling perspective, but from a networking perspective, they can prevent that communication. but that's not workload protection. So the, you know, vDefend with distributed firewall, IDS, IPS, NTA, NDR is really where you get the rich set of security controls to be able to protect the workloads in the environment. So, you know, tying that into the rest of the stuff they have there with secure platform. So think of it this way: secure platform versus secure workloads is a difference, right? Securing the actual VCF platform versus securing the workloads that are running on that platform. That's where the distinction should be seen here. So vDefend and Avi are adding to those protective measures that are there to protect the platform in order to protect the workloads running on that platform. So it's not an either or. In the same way he said, you know, security was imperative, securing your workloads is imperative. It doesn't make sense to deploy a private cloud that's not a secure private cloud. It doesn't make sense to deploy private AI unless it's secure private AI, because what's going to happen, so it's now free. More customers start doing it, right? Well, what's going to happen is malicious threat actors are now going to recognize that private AI is a target. And so, okay, how do I poison the learning model? Or how do I use natural language to extract private information about this organization? So all of these things have to come together to figure out how to build secure private cloud, both with the native constructs that secure the platform and the vDefend and Avi that will protect the workloads themselves.
Yeah, I like that delineation, the workloads versus the platform. And you got to do both. I mean, that's the world we live in.
For sure.
We can do that. We can not just help you protect it. We can make sure that CVE remediations are done with ease, because you can push code with ease. You can implement guardrails within your applications and full automated builds and service controls. But we're not stopping there. I said we're innovating.
We're not.
I'm announcing today our new VCF Advanced Cyber Compliance. This new extension to VCF provides a very, very powerful capability. Complete continuous compliance enforcement, not just for your VCF environment, but more importantly for your applications. Okay, based on our SALT technology, but fully available for all of you. We have enhanced platform security, looking at how do we protect the resiliency of the platform itself, secure by design container images, confidential computing built in across AMD and Intel-based environments. And we do proactive assessments to monitor and maintain your environment for you. And of course, if things go wrong, full automated ransomware and data recovery. All of our VLR live recovery capability is part of this advanced cyber compliance. So you can do disaster recovery and compliance recovery. And clean room recovery. So we've covered a lot. You've seen all the work that we're doing on engineering the next generation of VCF. But we're not just talking about VCF this week. There is a whole load more information. As I like to say in Ireland, there's a shit ton more information that you're actually going to hear about this week. And hopefully you enjoy it.
I didn't realize that was an Irish saying.
It's really, really exciting times. But, you know, while we
Y'all got a little Irish in
a
us.
lot, innovation in the data center, innovation for AI, innovation for security. And we've heard from customers, just like all of you, who are building their private cloud and seeing real results. But before you go, I want to kind of share with you one thing. Standing here today, I kind of think of the journey we've been on together. 25 years ago, when we introduced server virtualization, people thought we were crazy. Why would you want to share a server? But you, all of you, the people in this room, you saw the potential. You transformed server economics forever. You transformed the data center through encapsulation and standardization of applications. Yeah, but we didn't stop there. We extended virtualization to networking and storage, delivering on the promise of the software-defined data center. Again, we had our doubters, but all of you proved them wrong. You redefined the data center, making it more flexible, more efficient, more resilient, software-defined. And now we're at the next inflection point, the modern private cloud, an agile, secure, cost-efficient cloud for all applications, deployed anywhere. And you're not just IT practitioners. You're the architects of the future. You're writing the next chapter of the data center. So remember this. You're not just implementing technology. Together, we are redefining IT. Thank you for being here, and have a great week.
All right.
I don't know about you, but I'm ready to run through a wall.
I know. I tell you, Paul's good, man. We're
It
good.
is good. I wish that there, you know, obviously I get there's only an hour for this, right? But I think there's so much more along the lines of what he talked about there at the end that could be focused on. Now I realize there's breakout sessions and stuff like that to go through, but I would like to have seen maybe some more on, you know, here's specific stuff for you, the vSphere engineer, that you can do today, now, right, to provide value. So the AI thing, right, we're looking at it in the future, and the developer thing, you may say, I don't have containers, but you know, what is it I can do, right? You want to fire me up? You want to get me to run through a wall because I'm the virtualization engineer? Show me how I can become that hero now, today, instead of in the future with AI and the developer thing, you know. So, but I get it, right? Explore is about the big announcements and all the great buzzwords from a marketing perspective. So I think we hit the mark with what we needed to showcase that this is a platform that solves problems today and moving forward in the future. But I think the key takeaway, if you've built your career on virtualization, is that there's a lot you can do moving forward to continue being successful in that career.
I agree. And I think that next step is just doing I'm going to call them basics because they kind of feel like they should be now, but adopting the platform, adopting VCF, NSX, ARIA, start running like a cloud, those kind of things. And then, you know, the rest of it will come whenever your company's ready for it, as far as, you know, Kubernetes or AI and those kind of things. But like we mentioned, you know, now you can start dabbling in those things, and even if it's a side project. But overall, I thought the conference was great. You know, obviously it wasn't the crowds of, you know, pre-COVID and all, but, you know, Broadcom's portfolio is a lot smaller now. I kind of almost like it better smaller because I felt like I knew everybody there. And of course I didn't, but you know, it was a scenario where everybody there was here to learn about VCF.
Yeah.
And everybody was the same mission, the same purpose. It's like, yeah, we're here for VCF. And obviously there's a ton of other content out there, but I thought the buzz was great at the event. I thought the layout was a lot better than what it was the previous year. And, you know, it's exciting. I'm glad they're announced they're doing it again next year. So you can save the date. I think the week of August 31st, back in Las Vegas.
Yep.
So we'll be there. And VMUG had a great event. We had the booth, had the putt-putt, had a lot of people, leaders, members come by, and sold a bunch of Advantage. So that was pretty cool as well.
Did you stop and pet the puppies?
You know what? I never even saw the puppies. I know where
You
they
didn't?
were because the way our booth was, and either I walked by when they weren't there. I don't know, but I missed the puppies altogether.
That blew my mind. There was puppies there. So, and I hadn't seen that before. I was like, oh, okay, well, you know, I hadn't thought about wanting to pet a puppy in the middle of Explorer, but I guess it's kind of neat. If you're
pet the
feeling
puppies,
stressed,
didn't
you pet a puppy. Yeah, but no, it was definitely a good event. I do agree with you that maybe the more intimate, smaller is kind of cool. You know, I mean, I ran into you 4 or 5 times in an unplanned manner, so you know that's never a bad thing to see folks like that. So I enjoyed it.
That's right. And, you know, as far as the rest of the content, that's what VMUGs are for. So make sure that you're following VMUG and joining VMUG at vmug.com. Membership is free. If you're interested in Advantage, we'll say that as well. Lots of benefits to that you could see on the website. But Chris, thanks so much for doing this again. We will get this uploaded and on the YouTubes and pushed out to everybody. Please comment and make sure you let us know what you'd like to see more of in the future, and we will try to do that. Any closing thoughts there, Chris?
No, I appreciate it. It was fun. It was a fun conference. So yeah, like you, I'm excited that we got it again next year, and you know, we'll get to see what else we find in the private cloud world. So excited.
There you go. All right, thanks everybody.